nodot atkal mikrofonu Latvijas Okupācijas muzeja biedrības valdes priekšsēdis Valters Nollendorfs.
Pulkstenis izdara dažādas korekcijas. I was going to say a few words in English as summary, but since the time is fleeting, I will just share a few impressions with you and try to answer some of the questions that I asked at the beginning. It is maybe symbolic that the first lecture started with an exclamation, and a reburial of those who lost their lives in this tremendous war after the war. This is memory that we should all share and take example from those who keep it alive. And we should ask ourselves the question whether we have done enough for the memory of those who fought in this almost incredible war, and ask whether we have done enough to make this memory known in the free world that we joined finally in the late 1980s, early 1990s. All of a sudden the Iron Curtain was down. But as I said at the beginning, the Iron Curtain, on the one hand, protected the West, but hid the East from the West. And actually, if we think about geography, these countries are not the East. They are part of Europe. East starts at our borders with Russia. Let's change the geography a little. And I said at the beginning, the West needs some corrections in its historical memory. I don't think it is corrections really as much as filling the gaps that have been left in the memory that we are trying to build anew. It was easy to come together politically. It was easy, relatively, to join the European Union and to join NATO. And by that, basically, in a physical, political sense, corrections were made after those long years. And we finally were where we belonged. It is much more difficult to bring those memories together and to teach those who did not live through this the memories that are common to us who lived on this side. What impressed me most, and what we should think about, is actually the connection between 1939, 1945, and 1991. American historian Timothy Snyder has written in his books a lot about destruction of state that both Hitler and Stalin engaged in. Destruction of state, destruction of state structures, and destruction of those people who were responsible for the state. We call them elites. And what destruction of the elites did our countries experience? It seemed that in 1945, most of the elites that had been instrumental in building up these states between the wars were gone. Killed, deported, in exile. And yet when we watch these films and listen to these lectures, we find out that there were elites that we sometimes did not even recognize were elites. These were not government officials that fought for their state. These were our people. And we should recognize that they were the ones who upheld, in this time, the state, their own states, and fought for their own states and for their nations. We should recognize also how long this war lasted. 1956, 7 into the 60s. And that there is a connection between this almost unwinnable war and what happened in the late 80s and early 90s. The resurrection of those states and the restoration of the nations. It is an incredible thing that we think, and we should make this incredible war available to the West, to our colleagues whom we have joined, with whom we are together in common Europe, in a common free world. And we can do that best, I think, by rethinking a little bit our own modesty. I am reminded that the Polish lecture and Polish people call these fighters for freedom their soldiers. I think it should be incumbent also for the Baltic countries. I listen to these lectures and we still have this confusion as to who these people were, what they fought for. Partisans, yes, they fought with partisan methods because there were no other ways of fighting this almost hopeless fight. In small groups, in large groups. But you noticed in all these lectures, what was common was actually the idea that we are fighting, we are soldiers for our countries, for our independence, for our sovereignty, for our freedom. And so I think it is incumbent upon us to try to say, this was not a fight. This was not a struggle. This was war. And those who fought this war were the soldiers of those countries that were resurrected in 1989, 91, and that are now members of the European Union, of the free world, and are back where they deserve to be back. And therefore, it is incumbent upon us to honor these people, to keep their memory alive, not only privately, but also at state level. I was very impressed by the way the Polish state is honoring and is preserving these memories, almost sparing no means to find out the truth, to find the names and to give them, these heroes, their just burial. I am glad this is happening also in my country and in the other countries as well. I am very glad that in our museum, our historian Ines Dreymane gave back the names to those who were killed by the Soviets in the last days of their rule in 1941. It was a huge task, but she has given them back their identities. Whether we do it by research, by DNA research, but we should honor these bones, whom we find even today all over Latvia, all over Estonia, Lithuania, and Poland. These are sacred places, and these places are all over our countries, and so should our countries be sacred to us, and we should not hesitate telling the world about the war that went on after seemingly the war ended. We are now at peace, but we will never be completely at peace until we are understood and until justice is done and memory comes to rest. I again want to thank all those who were instrumental in bringing about this conference. Certainly welcome, and many thanks to you, Your Excellency, and to our former director, Gunnar Snagels, for coming together and developing this idea that we should have a conference. I hope this is not the last. I hope we are going to have much larger conferences, which are going to address some of these things that we started discussing in this conference. Forward.
His name was, he's the